On this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
Hey, Sean. Mm-hmm. We should have our own special.
You talking about Manga Ramen, like a full special?
Yeah, like a full episode of just shit that we get to talk about.
Whoa, you're saying that no limits? Not gonna let Caleb bully us and only keep it at 15 minutes?
No, I brought the ball gag this time.
Geekery.
So, yeah, let's do One Piece.
Hey, wait, I can talk about One Piece.
Yeah, I mean, even Caleb knows a little bit about One Piece.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, you guys want to do a podcast?
Let's do a podcast.
Hey, let's do a podcast about One Piece. It's totally my idea.
Caleb's here now.
I had this plan where we were going to do a podcast about One Piece, and I thought you guys might find it interesting. Totally made it up myself.
That is a great idea.
Totally Caleb's
Make
idea.
it its own idea so we can do it.
Well, we're going to do it. It's happening right now. Hey, everybody. This is episode 27 of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast, and we are back like we always are this week. And we're going to have a different kind of episode for you guys. Something that we've really never done to this extent before.
We're on a cruise.
We're going on a cruise. Hey, if you guys haven't yet, you should go check out episode 26 where we went at Kingdom Come hard. Like, we just broke that thing open and dissected it for what it was.
It feels like just yesterday when we recorded that.
It's almost like we just did it like an hour ago. But because it's podcast
He
land.
did say busted open and come in hard. Well, you know what? Kingdom Come didn't want that. It should have been dressed so beautifully.
I would like the record to reflect that I'm not the one who made that joke.
No,
So,
you just said it. We heard it.
Your mind's
world
in
heard
the
it.
gutter.
My ears synced it.
So
It's almost like you're sailors.
anyway, about episode numbers and our names.
Go check out our last episode. We talked about a book. We talked about some comics. We did some fun shit. Hey, if you're on Twitter and Instagram, so are we. We're at SFG Podcast. If you're on Facebook, hey, so are we. We're at Southern Fried Geekery Podcast, and you can find us on there. If you have questions, concerns, comments, you want us to launch a poll to kick Jerry off the show, send us an email at southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com.
Send those emails to me.
Yeah, the phone number is.
This anonymous letter looks specifically like Sean's
It's like
handwriting.
that. It's like that issue of Batman where they voted which if they were going to kill off.
Yes,
Jason,
you want us to
Jason
beat
Todd
Jerry
or not?
with a crowbar.
Anyway, let's do this, man. Come check us out on social media. We're posting news. We're having conversations. We're having a really good time. I'm burping because pizza. But this is not a comic book episode. This episode is completely and 100% dedicated to a thing that Sean, Jerry, and Craig all really love, and something that they have been trying unsuccessfly to get me to fall into. But we're gonna have a show about it. So I'm gonna back the fuck up because this is not my jam.
It's just a little known series called One Piece, which we may have mentioned once or twice before on the show.
Maybe. Just a tad.
We have a familiarity with it.
And like what we discussed when we talked about doing this, it's a huge series that we couldn't cover in our measly 15-minute manga ramen that were allotted to by Dictator Caleb.
So I'm
I wasn't
Craig,
gonna go there, but no.
Hey guys, as usual, I'm Caleb Alexander.
and I'm Craig Lance.
I'm Sean.
And I am laughing hysterically. Also, I'm Jerry.
Fired.
Me and Jerry are about to be unemployed when we keep talking shit.
Manga Rama just got dropped to $7.50.
You get paid?
Nice Street Fighter reference.
So what are we talking about today, guys? I mean, besides the fact you've already said it 17,000 times. Hey, remember that script that Craig wrote out? Read that shit.
One Piece, simply put, is a anime series, manga series.
You skipped the blue.
Jesus fucking Christ! You want me to read this word?
Yes.
Do you know who I am?
It's not right to left. We can't read it.
Welcome to the East Blue, and join us as we set sail on the Going Merry, searching for the ever-elusive pirate treasure of One Piece.
Ba-dum-ba-dum.
And insert copyrighted music will get flagged for
We
it.
are. We all sing it. It's okay.
All right.
So, One Piece.
One Piece.
I
hate all of you.
Fantastically amazing. We're also recording this at night again. Sorry, we sound a little goofy. We aren't drunk. We're just really tired from work in the heat. It was 105 today, and it fucking sucks in the south.
So you know what doesn't fucking suck?
What?
One Piece.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a synopsis?
Oh.
You all will appreciate me more after this episode.
So, anyway, the series is created by Ichiro Oda. It's published by Shueisha and the English publisher is Viz Media. It originally came out July 22nd, 1997, and it is still going to present day. There are, up to date, it's 89 volumes.
It has broken 900.
Yeah.
It's
906, I think.
they're gonna hit 1,000 before we even know it. I remember whenever we hit 500, but that's just me being old.
So, what else happened with One Piece?
So the story of One Piece is that you're in a world of pirates. And the main character, Monkey D. Luffy, wants to become king of the pirates. And the way you do that is to find the treasure One Piece, which the only clue they have is the last pirate who acquired the One Piece, Gold Roger. He, right before he got executed, said, if you want it, you can go get it in that place. That's all he said. So basically, through kind of figuring out, they know it's in a place called the Grand Line, which is where, it's like historically, that's kind of where it's been, or is it?
Yeah,
How's that always set up?
It's supposed to be at the end of Grand Line, at a, holy fuck, I am drawing all the blanks today.
I mean, if only we had a script that we could have prepped
You
with.
didn't write the name of the
Well, the
inline.
big thing about One Piece 2, though, is the powers people acquire within the world from items called the Devil Fruit.
Right.
I've heard of these.
Yes, Devil Fruit are rare fruit within this world that will grant a power to whoever eats them. Each fruit is unique with a unique power. The side
Each fruit is unique with a unique power.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. You know what? Just because you're not having anything to contribute doesn't mean you can just sit there being the two old Muppets up in the balcony talking
Now,
shit.
the interesting thing about these fruits, other than there not being a single one that is like it, there are none that are the same. They're all individual and, as Sean said, unique. But
Nice.
they all have a weakness, and that's seawater, which is interesting in this world of pirates. And the majority of the continent, or the majority of the planet, is surrounded by water with small continents scattered here and there.
Right.
The devil fruits are actually split up into different categories. There's Paramecia, Zoan, and Logia types. And for the longest time in the series, it takes you a little bit to figure out what's what, which ones are which, and you don't see certain types. They don't even categorize them for a very long time.
I know, and which is like the beauty of One Piece, especially if you get deep into the series. You're learning about the world the entire time.
Yeah, it builds itself as they go. So it starts as like kind of a crew building, because you start off with just this kid who's a child at heart, named Monkey D. Luffy, and his straw hat that he inherited from a pirate from his home village, and then his adventure and his drive to become the king of the pirates. And he gets asked early on, you don't know, like, he keeps constantly showing, like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do this or this or this, and he's like, well, I'll get a crew, because that's his goal. And it starts off as the story of him getting all of his crew members together and their adventures, and then how they become close together, and then them starting off in this grand adventure.
You must have really loved the first 6 arcs as much as you hate crew building.
Yeah, Sean does not. You don't like those types of stories, really.
Typically not, to be honest, but the beauty of One Piece is how it is written. It is written in just an entertaining way, and it's mainly because the team build aspects that I have problems with in Western comics is like half the time is like rebuild a team. Like, especially the latest example I use that is like the Teen Titans. They were already a team, got a new leader, and they're all bitching and moaning at each other the entire time. While most of the crew was very reluctant to join Luffy, it wasn't so much that. And it made sense. Like, each of them had an arc, a backstory, which, theme of One Piece, tragic fucking backstories,
Oh,
that made them not want to. And that's a lot more than just like, oh, I don't like your face, we're going to bitch and moan at each other like a lot of Western stories do when they have a team arc. So One Piece is that it's exception to the rule.
right.
It is because it's a lot better written than most TV.
So
Well, this is actually a place that I can inject with what little I know. I haven't read any of the manga, but I have watched quite a bit of the. No, I haven't. I've watched over 50-something of the anime episodes, but that's barely breaking the ice. But I will say that even though this is a team-building series up to a certain point, it still intermittently has a plot. Like, it's not just, we're going to focus on this character, now they're part of the team. We're going to focus on this character, now they're part of the team. There are plot elements, and there are actually entire completed storylines mixed in with this whole thing.
And they're constantly adding new elements to the story and new factions and stuff. You find out very quickly that, since it's the main world is ocean, and you have a navy and a world government that controls everything. One of the cool things that I really like about this series is they'll introduce pirates, and you'll have good pirates and bad pirates, and then they'll have the Marines, the Navy, and they'll have good and bad. And I remember one of the first little scenes that I get is right in there in Arlong Park, which is, for me, it really set the tone for the series. You first get your crew together, and you first have your fight, and it's all like really coming together. Well, there happened to be a corrupt official there, and I'm like, what are they going to do about this? Because this is the world government, and Luffy just punches the shit out of them, and I'm like, oh fuck, they're going to be wanted now. And then I'm like, they're fucking pirates though. Like,
It's kind of their gig.
yeah. So I always really like that about this series, and just its ability to really pull you into these characters and their plight, and just even like every island that they visit, they seem to leave their mark on it in one way or another.
And it's a deep world. It's like you said, at first it seems kind of maybe in the early episodes a little cookie cutter, a little cut and paste of just like, I'm gonna be this. Here's a bad guy, fight the bad guy, move on. But like you said, like with Arlong Park, you realize like there's good and bad, there's good and evil everywhere. From the pirates to the Marines to the world government who police everything. It's deeper than it looks, and at a glance, like we can talk about the art style.
Mm-hmm.
Oda is an amazing artist who manages to draw very goofy characters as amazing characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll see some silly designs in the series, but they'll be either really badass or really just likable and relatable characters.
It's really one of those things that come off whenever. It took me a long time to actually get into it, because it started off really funny and goofy, and for the longest time I wasn't into that. In my anime, I just really like the serious stuff. And some people kept talking about it. I kept hearing buzz about it, and I was, going to anime conventions around that time. And I just kept seeing so much. And then finally somebody showed me a few clips of some stuff, and I got into it, and I just realized how deep something like that can be. And it's just really, like, the best thing about this series, because, you'll have something that'll last, like, 200, 300 episodes, and that'll be it. But One Piece is one of those series that they'll mention something on, like, episode 20 to 100, and you won't even see anything about it or realize how important it is until like 500 or 600 episodes.
No, so Jonathan Hickman's right.
Yeah.
And as he's talking about how the episodes, like early stories will affect later. I mean, like, as you mentioned, that the manga started in 1997. Well, in 99 is when the anime started. And it's been ongoing. Like, if anyone watches anime nowadays, especially,
No one does.
No, but you get the seasons. Like most TV shows do, but in Japan, a lot of series started off ongoing. One Piece comes out, with the exception of a few times something might have happened, comes out weekly as a show. So while there's over, what did you say, 906?
908 chapters.
There's 842 episodes of One Piece. And that's not even counting movies, specials, OVAs, all that kind
Yeah,
of
that's
stuff.
why I said when I've watched 50-something episodes and you haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Not at all.
Hey, speaking of Japan, now Jerry, you and Sean have both been to Japan.
Absolutely.
What number? So, comic books aren't that influential here. Like, I mean, you see characters everywhere, but you don't see the influence of comic book, like specifically. What kind of influence has One Piece had on Japan? Like, what do you see over
It
there?
was everywhere.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Like, as big as, like, say, you see the Avengers, you see marketing for it. Best of my knowledge, we have comic book stores, but we don't have a store that literally mass produced called the Avengers store.
Right.
There is literally, we went to a One Piece store in a mall in Japan, dedicated to absolutely nothing but One Piece, and like there's cross marketing. We went to Nara, when we were down in Osaka, and they're famous for their deer park, and there were keychains that were unique to that area that had One Piece characters.
You can go just about anywhere and find One Piece memorabilia, and even Tokyo Tower. Since they brought out the Tobu Sky Tree, since it's the taller tower in Tokyo now, the Tokyo Tower is officially like One Piece Tower now. So they have like the ground floor where it's all of their shopping center for everything you want One Piece. They have One Piece Cafe. You go up another floor, they'll have like this entire area where they have live shows and just games and all kinds of really cool stuff.
Like, I mean, it's a countrywide phenomenon. They have tie-ins for anything. Like, I can't think of like one singular like Western story or show where you'll see as much merchandising.
Right.
And I'm not talking about like Simpsons in the '90s was probably something close where you saw Bart on everything, but like it was like they had the Butterfinger deal, they had posters and all that kind of stuff. But like you'll find this One Piece glasses, wallets,
almost
shoes.
Disney-esque.
It's
Absolutely.
It is the #1 series in Japan, and it has been for years and years. They actually broke a world record for a while back. Before I get into that, though, they broke their highest record for copies in print, and they printed a New York Times article about it here, which I have a lot of, and it was 300 million copies. And to kind of commemorate this, every prefecture in Japan, they printed a One Piece article in their paper, and then in America, they printed in New York Times. They had a whole article on it. It's basically a phenomenon. You can't find somebody who watches anime who hasn't at least heard of One Piece.
Right. That actually explains a lot.
That's 300 million copies of One Piece have been sold.
Mm-hmm.
That means that every issue sells 33 million copies.
Jesus.
It's a juggernaut.
So that explains a lot. So it's actually funny. The other day, I was having a conversation with my friend Jason Wood from the 11 O'Clock Comics podcast, and we were talking about the most successful
No,
businessmen.
it sells 3 million. I'm sorry, 3.3 million. That's still a lot.
I wasn't going to question you. I don't math. I'm a writer. And we were talking about who the most successful or the most profitable people in comics were. And of course, we were talking about people like Jim Lee, people like Hickman and Kirkman. But somebody else in the conversation brought up Oda.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked up the numbers, and by and large, he is the wealthiest, most successful, at least monetarily speaking, businessman in sequential art, period, across the globe.
Oh,
and that makes sense. Like I was trying to think about, how does, because I'm used to the American model, how does some sequential artist, how does a comic thing get to be that? This is Disney level shit.
Yeah.
Like this is straight up Disney.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's a weekly series, so every week he's selling 3 million copies of it. Of this chapter, it's being put in somebody's hands.
And writing and drawing it himself, with assistance, of course. They'll put it out on a weekly basis.
Well, for sure.
But it's completely his baby.
Yeah.
Like, he's been doing it. I mean, you can find hardly how long he's been planning it before it even became a month.
Now, was it Oda, the guy who makes this? You were in one of the earlier episodes. We were talking about an individual, and I think it was Oda. He only sleeps like 4 hours a day.
Well, the doctors made him go to 5 because he started having health problems.
It's rumored.
That's reported that he had been, that the manga has missed chapters because of health issues with him. He's a heavy smoker because of his work rate. I'm assuming it kind of led to it.
It's also really cool. Whenever we went to the cafe, they actually had a desk set up.
Right.
That was like a recreation of what his desk looked like, and it was just a fucking mess. Like, they actually released pictures like a while back of all these manga artists and how nice and everything their desk is, and his is just like notes everywhere, and
he can afford
a
to
pile of cigarette butts
Yeah.
and ashtray.
So we talked about some of the history. Why don't we delve into get into the meat of this a little
Yeah.
bit?
So who are some of the? Again, I'm largely the one who is the most ignorant about all this. Who are every ship has to have a crew, as you said. This is a crew building thing for the most part. Tell me about some of the members of the crew. Who are these people? Like, what makes them special? What are they doing? Like, what's happening?
So we've already mentioned Luffy, the captain.
Mhm.
Lighthearted, has a dream, and he's going to do whatever it takes to fulfill that dream and protect his friends. He's a really solid character, and I'm sure you can only imagine after 900 chapters, like the growth that his character has gone through. And they've even had a 2-year time skip, so each character has had their differences.
Now, I mean, is he just like a badass, or can he punch real hard?
Bullheaded would definitely be the way.
Yeah, he's definitely doesn't have like the intelligence there, but he's got those like battle instincts that kick in.
Yeah, he's made himself to be a fighter. When he was a small child, he ate one of the devil fruits that turned him into a rubber man. So he has the ability to stretch his body.
Kind of a Mr. Fantastic.
If Fantastic had to always return back, like think a rubber band.
Okay.
It always has to return back, but he can stretch his limbs. His whole body is made of rubber, and so he's worked that into his fight style. He grew up hanging around pirates, so he was always a little brawler. But then when he got this power, he quickly learned how to adapt to that, and he's a hand-to-hand fighter. He'll punch the shit out of anyone, no matter where you stand in this world.
Constantly adapted and changed it.
He comes across kind of goofy in the show until it's time to be serious. And when that time comes, and that usually happens because somebody fucked with some of his crew or his family or somebody he cares about, or just in general, the story is that person is just a bad person and needs to be put down.
Pretty much. Like, at first glance, he's very aloof, very laid back, because it seems dumb. But then it's those scary moments when he gets his shit together and someone's about to get their ass.
When it's time to be serious, he's serious, and he's not. Even though he comes across aloof and goofy and all of that, I think he's actually far more intelligent than he portrays himself to.
And he punches somebody until the anime goes into black and white.
Yes.
Now, so in the superhero genre, superheroes will have costumes. When you see Superman, you know he's Superman. Does Luffy? I mean, are these guys walking around in tights and super suits, or like did they have like an iconic thing about Luffy specifically?
They have iconic outfits, but the main one is the straw hat, and that's why his crew ends up being called the Straw Hat Pirates.
Yes, he inherited a straw hat, which has a long lineage through the series, which you find out later on what's going on with that. But yeah, his straw hat is definitely his signature look, and usually a red top and some blue shorts and flip-flops. As Caleb cosplayed one time accidentally without the straw hat.
That's fake news.
But the first person he recruits into his crew, though, is a sword fighter named, I always brutalize when I say it out loud.
Roronoa Zoro.
So even you couldn't say it without stuttering.
Roronoa Zoro?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. Or simply, as everyone calls him, Zoro. He is a user of, do you know how to say it? I've never been able to pronounce it. It's 3-sword style in Japanese.
It's good enough.
Anyway,
3-sword style is good enough.
3-sword style. You find out his history where he couldn't beat someone with 2 swords, so he figured 3 had to be better. So he has one in each hand, and he puts one in his mouth. It's anime, it doesn't have to make sense.
And he's kind of the first captain.
It's Santo Ryu.
Thank you.
And he's the first mate on the crew.
He is.
They have a good dental plan.
Right? He started off as a pirate hunter, a bounty hunter. Got into it with the Marines, and Luffy...
It's actually kind of funny how that story started, because he didn't want to go into it to be a bounty hunter. He just, in his travels and training and everything like that, he needed to eat, so he would just find these people and turn them in so he could eat food.
Because a common thing with every major character is every one of these characters has
Everyone
a
needs
goal.
to eat.
Well, yeah, of course. And eat in mighty quantities in One Piece. But no, everyone has their goal. Like I said, we said Luffy wants to be king of the pirates. And while, of course, Zoro supports him in that role and wants to see that happen, his own personal goal is to be the best swordsman in the world. Which means going on these, like a bounty hunter for food, but also for the challenge of fighting other swordsmen. He's always seeking out a stronger swordsman to fight. And that's his own personal goal.
And often gets lost while he's seeking them out.
You see, that's why I always said, like, he gets lost in cities, he has bad sense of direction. My joke's always at least been that he actually is just looking for a swordsman, whether he knows it or not. That's why he wanders off and gets lost from where they're supposed to be going.
He could really use a navigator or something.
Yeah. Well, speaking of navigator, Jerry.
It's in no particular order, obviously. They happen upon Nami, who ends up being their navigator. She has, of course, a really tragic backstory. Her backstory takes place on Arlong Park, which I mentioned before, which was really the culmination of like what this series is eventually going to be. But she's just really attuned with the weather. As far as we know, it's no supernatural ability. She's just really good at being able to tell the tides and what's going to happen. She's also a cat burglar. whenever we first run into her. So she's stealing from pirates, and that's her trade. And she ends up joining with Luffy's crew, and she basically becomes like the ship manager and keeps up with all their funds and tries to keep everyone else out of trouble.
She is the ship mother because, like I said, they're all kind of single-minded, strict, going in a straight line. And sometimes it gets them in a lot more trouble than they probably need to be. So she's quick to give them a punch in the head to get them back in line, and of course, steal all the money from them too. She keeps all the funds for herself.
Yeah, she controls all the purse strings.
But it's like as you said, she steals from pirates, and there's a reason for that. Like getting into her background is like basically she's been fucked over by pirates her entire life, so she didn't want to trust Luffy at first. She used them actually to get money and to get out of a bad situation that she was set up in. You see even in just that short amount of time, which was about where you got to camp, so roughly around 50 episodes, and she was introduced probably 10, 20 episodes in.
No, not even that late, because she showed up first in Buggy's episode,
right?
And that was like 3 or 4.
Anyway, but
fight.
I don't
right
remember.
now.
But like
She showed up way early.
Yeah. But even within you see she gets a major character arc within a very short amount of time, and it's a really good one. Like I said, like she comes across kind of an asshole, kind of bitchy, but then you find out why, and that's like again what I mentioned earlier. One of the beauty of One Piece is that these characters are so well written.
Yeah, delving, and they all have their own unique way of fighting. Hers is actually a staff, which later on gets upgrades to where she can use it to manipulate weather, which is a really interesting upgrade for her.
Oh yeah, and it got upgraded by the next person that they run into.
And it's actually Usopp. He comes off as like I think his character is actually kind of based on Pinocchio, because he has a long nose and he's known in his village as a liar. You find out at one point that his father joined the crew of the pirate captain that gave Luffy his hat. So it kind of spurred him into wanting to join the crew. There was a lot of stuff that went on his home island that made him join. He more or less is just base human as you can get in this series. No supernatural strength or anything. He's portrayed as a weakling and a coward. So it really got interesting throughout the series to kind of see him grow.
He had major growth because his goal, even though he is very much a scaredy cat, because like Zoro is human, but he's like monstrously strong as a swordsman. Mm-hmm. So Usopp is, like he said, pure human. He fights with a slingshot. He's a ranged fighter, but he's actually a pretty good shipwright, or fair at least. So it's kind of what they were interested in getting him in there as someone who could help with the ship. But also, like I said, connections to Red Hair Shanks, the Red Hair Pirates, who we got the hat from. And he's still, I would still say, going through a character arc because, it wasn't like he went on 1 or 2 adventures and suddenly became a brave pirate of the sea. He still fights through his own cowardice.
Right.
But he, like when Luffy gets serious, Usopp can get just as serious too, and he's a valued member of the crew.
Now, early on in his arc, and this is someplace I actually got to in the anime. He also falls in love a lot, right? Like that's kind of his thing. Isn't
a different character. Now there was he got known for being a liar in his island because he messing with the villagers because they never really liked him anyway because they know his dad was a famous pirate. So he used to always lie and say pirates are coming to fuck with him. Mm-hmm. But also there was a sick girl. I was
going to say, there was this Romeo and Juliet arc.
Yes, that's been his one and only, basically. He loves it. I can't think of her name right now because I'm a bad fan. But he used to tell her...
Because it was 850 chapters.
I know, but I read it not too long ago. But he used to tell her lies about what he was doing as a supposedly a brave pirate of the sea.
Well, she was bedridden, so he would entertain. He would regale her with these adventures.
Yes. And kind of funny thing to throw out, like the lies. Some of the stories, or most of the stories that he's told,
if not all of them,
Oda has made come true in his adventures.
Look at him getting meta,
which is pretty funny when you think about it. Our next member of the crew is actually the cook.
The one that does fall in love every time.
Sanji the Love Cook, who is apparently based off of Steve Buscemi, though I don't see it.
Buscemi had long hair in Reservoir Dogs. Notice it. That's where he got the idea for Sanji's look from Reservoir Dogs, Steve Buscemi.
But and it's actually kind of interesting about Sanji because we thought up until this point in the series that we were done hearing characters' backstories.
Oh yeah.
Well, just recently in the manga, we found that there is a bit more to Sanji's, and he comes from a pretty messed up life.
Like literally 400 episodes from his introduction, we get his backstory.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing. But that's, like I said, that's the thing about One Piece. But Sanji, yeah, he's a cook. He fights by kicking because he doesn't want to harm his hands, but that's how he does his art.
You would think he would use knives.
You would think. He's a kicker.
But he kicks.
He's used knives once.
Yeah, only one time.
And it was against an enemy who used food to fight with.
Who the fuck uses food to fight?
It's anime.
It's One Piece. But yeah, and he is a ladies' man. He loves the women's. Fawns over them. Falls in love with every girl he sees. Although he's never been successful.
Oh, is he just constantly...
He tries, he
Getting
fawns
turned
over
down.
them, but he never commits or something happens.
Okay, I remember.
But so yeah, they need a chef because they need to eat on the seas, and they through again didn't want to join the crew, got convinced to do it. Tragic backstory with that before we even get his real backstory. Just a tragic backstory of how he became a chef on that ship they find him on, and again, amazing stuff.
And then, of course, no ship would be complete without a doctor. So they have the most unique doctor that you could possibly find.
AKA most marketable and adorable character ever.
And he's a reindeer.
Oh, is this that cute little fuck that you have the hat for?
Yes,
His
I do
name's,
have a hat for him.
His name's Tony Chopper. And he actually, it's kind of funny because getting into his character, you can obviously tell that he ate a devil fruit. So you're like, oh, he ate a reindeer fruit. Incorrect. He, as a reindeer, ate a human fruit, which gave him the
real quick
abilities-
clarity on that because we failed to mention that
Mhm.
the translation for each devil fruit repeats the name for some reason.
Yeah.
Like Luffy ate the rubber fruit.
Yeah.
So just in case we mention it again, they're all named something like that: rubber, fire,
So-
fire, human fruit.
So Luffy's devil fruit power.
Is there a
since
Duran fruit?
No.
If not, no, that's in JoJo.
Luffy's devil fruit power affects his body like in a physical way that he can never turn off. It's called paramecia. They have a set of devil fruits that are all animal based or mythological based. They're called Zoan devil fruits, and they more or less have like you can turn into 3 different forms, and you've got your whatever you start off as. The form of whatever fruit you ate, and then you have a hybrid in between. And he's always like that kind of like hybrid because he has this little cute like chibi form. But he actually, being a doctor and experimenting with medicine and all kinds of other stuff.
Chibi being a term in Japan for child body, in a sense, it means when they're like proportionally big head, small body.
Oh, okay.
For Caleb and the others who look confused when you said that, when you said chibi.
So
There's so much I don't know.
being a doctor and somewhat of a chemist, he's learned to manipulate the devil fruit power in him, and he created these things called rumble balls, and they give him
No,
They
no,
give-
Caleb. You don't turn anything Chopper does in the perversion. No.
I said nothing.
they give Chopper additional forms. I want to say at the beginning of the series it gives him 5 extra forms.
I think that's right.
And then later on you find out that he's only ever been able to take 3 of these because the effects wear off after a while. But if he takes more than 3 a day, then something happens, and he actually transforms into this humongous monster.
He becomes a reindeer Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Uncontrollable rage machine. Who
Yeah.
just attacks anything.
Yeah.
But he's also like, what, 20 feet tall?
Yeah.
He's giant.
It's seriously he's
Um,
like a reindeer Hulk.
and of course, with his long character arc and everything later on, he learns how to use that and manipulate it better, and is able to control that form and come up with even more forms. But he doesn't even use a rumble ball after the post 2 years.
He is kind of moved past him.
Yeah.
And this, again, I kind of forgot to mention with Sanji. You didn't mention Nami. Like, I kind of want to bring up, make sure we know all their goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like Nami, as a navigator, wants to make a map of the world.
Of the whole world.
Yeah, right. Usopp, as we said, great pirate of the sea. Sanji wants to get to what he calls, he's heard of the mythological ocean, all blue.
And it's where, because in their world they have North Blue, South Blue, East Blue, West Blue, and this is supposed to be where they all connect.
And all the fish of all the oceans are there. He wants to catch them all so he can cook them. He's the chef. And Chopper, being that he was befriended, like when he ate the fruit, his reindeer pack, whatever you
Yeah.
call it.
Herd.
Herd, thank you. Murder didn't want him around anymore. So then he learned he could mimic kind of human form because of the fruit he ate. He tried to live with some humans, but he still looks reindeerish when he goes human form. So they thought he was like an abominable snowman monster, and they kicked him out.
He got attacked and left for dead, essentially.
Yeah.
Fucking asshole. That's some reindeer games bullshit.
So in an island where doctors were kind of outlawed, there was an outlaw doctor that ended up finding him and taking him in, and that became his master. And of course, tragic backstory.
But he wants to be able to cure any disease. He wants to be the best doctor. So that's his motivation.
All right, and after that, we run into Robin, which is kind of interesting because she starts off as a villain.
She does.
In this series, she's working for a big villain that Luffy ends up fighting. But you find out that she has motives for working with him, and it's because she's an archaeologist. And they have these things called poneglyphs in the world, and they're supposed to tell the true history. You start finding out that in the world, apparently, at one point in time, they had this thing called the Void Century, where all, history doesn't go back that far. And it's kind of hinted that the world government made that happen. They've essentially erased history to cover up something. And these things, these big stones called poneglyphs, have that true history on it. And she's one of the few people left because her entire island essentially got nuked that could actually read this language and everything. And it takes a while for her to officially join the crew.
Yeah. Several arcs.
But when she does, that becomes her goal, is discovering the true history of the world as their archaeologist. Around the same time she joins, we have another interesting character who kind of started off as a villain as well, and that's Frankie.
Yeah. They and at one point in the series, that from Usopp's Island, they get a boat, Going Merry, and that's been their ship for hundreds of episodes. By the time they get to where they meet Frankie, the ship's pretty busted up. Frankie is a shipwright. He works on boats, makes boats, and it's a whole island of that. Basically, the whole island are people who work on boats, and Frankie's under one of the best. But and what leads to something we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll talk about some of his favorite moments in One Piece. The Mary is damaged beyond repair. So, to find out again, tragic backstory. Frankie does eventually join the crew and gives them a new ship. And there's so much that goes on in that thing. I'm gonna get into
this was
more later.
This was a super, I've never had anything make me cry this much over something, but Jesus fucking Christ. With the ship,
when they knew they had to replace Going Merry,
when they had to finally say goodbye to their ship that's been with them, for 400 episodes or so, 300 episodes at this point, and they gave it a soul. At this point, it was just ridiculous.
They spoke about there's a mythology among ships in this world that have which may even I think come from some.
It's called a Club Earthman. Yeah. I think is what the mythology behind it is, and it's if you love your ship enough, then it doesn't gain sentience or anything, but it gains that soul.
Right. So what's Frankie look like?
Frankie is a Popeye-looking motherfucker.
Skinny biceps, huge forearms with star tattoos. He has a giant pompadour, sunglasses, and a triple cleft chin, double cleft chin. He likes to rock Hawaiian shirts and a Speedo.
And he's also a cyborg.
He is a cyborg. He got fucked up, and again, tragic backstory. He got fucked up pretty bad, so he is a cyborg. He has mainly robotic parts.
Rebuilt his own body.
And he's very fond of the word super.
This is the dude that skipped leg day, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what powers him is cola.
Mm-hmm.
He puts cola in his chest, and it fuels him.
And it's kind of great because his ship that he ends up making them, it has a bunch of special functions, and they're all powered by cola as well.
Yes.
Sounds ridiculous, but it's fucking amazing.
Not any more than any other thing.
It's one.
Yeah. Coming off of Frankie, it kind of takes a little bit of a dark turn, and we meet a new character, and
we actually get when Luffy first started realizing to make a crew, and they're all talking about what they need to survive in the ocean. Luffy insists the first thing they have to get is He's a musician. How else are they going to sing and dance together while they're on the seas? That's most important.
Yep, and he brings it up all the fucking
Throughout the
time.
series, like, we need to get a musician.
That's a little bit.
That's more. What about
Yeah.
a cook so we can eat? Nah. We need a musician so we can dance. That's Luffy.
That's a little bit beautiful. I mean, seriously.
It really is.
So they happen upon an abandoned ship that's just destroyed and messed up, and they swear that they see a ghost on it.
Mhm.
And when they climb up on the ship reluctantly, they find Brooke, who is a skeleton with a giant afro.
He looks just like
Slash.
Slash or Jimi Hendrix.
He has a top hat.
Oh, that's Slash, yeah.
It's
big
Slash,
hair.
but
Yeah.
Like later on, he kind of takes a Hendrix
Yeah.
appearance.
Does he have a tragic backstory?
Oh my
God.
God, yes.
Well,
The reason he's a living skeleton because he did eat. What was his fruit called?
it had something to do with a revive. It was like a soul
Like
fruit.
soul fruit. He ate a fruit that is what kept him alive when he died, along with his entire crew on the ocean. As he watched a crew of musicians, they played a song. Like you think in Titanic playing the song while you're going down. This is them that's literally dropping from starvation.
They got into a fight with another pirate crew, and they won, but the other pirate crew was using poison, and they all knew the other bunch of the crew members had already succumbed to it, and so what they decided to do in their last moments was they were gonna do it how they spent their lives and play music, and as they're playing this song on different instruments, they keep dropping, and he goes from like quartet to duet to solo,
Super sad.
and he went crazy because he spent all this time floating on the ship.
He couldn't die.
That would be awesome and touching if I didn't have Celine Dion singing in my head because of Sean right now.
So, and the thing is that he couldn't die as long as his soul could refine his
Yeah.
body. So what happened is his soul leaves his body dies, and he couldn't find his body again until after it had decayed to a skeleton.
Because he essentially got
I had
stuck.
that right?
He got stuck in what was known in their world as the Bermuda Triangle. I think it's called the Floridian Triangle or something like that. But a lot of stuff happened in his story arc, and he eventually joins the crew.
Backstory.
And so at this point we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and
What
it
is
stays
his goal though?
to meet Laboon.
Okay.
They had this whole thing. So
So
back in like
300 episodes
back in like episode 100, when the crew first hit the Grand Line, they run into this giant whale named Laboon, and apparently he came there as like a child, and he followed a crew of pirates in, but they wouldn't let him go because the Grand Line was too big and there were too many dangers, so they left him with the lighthouse keeper, and that was like 100 years or so ago. Turns out that the pirate crew that left him there was Brooks' crew. And upon learning that Laboon was still there waiting for them, he decided that, because the world, it all circles back around, so after they go on their trip and everything, on their journey, they will eventually make it back to where Laboon is.
Right on.
Yeah, so that's his thing. There is
One more
maybe
possibly.
one more
And
possibly.
we're getting into current events that happening in the anime and manga now. So, spoilers if you're this far behind. This is recent events.
They introduced a character named Jimbei, and he's a fish man. Which they introduced the fish man way
Arlong.
back. Yes, Arlong. Yeah, Arlong Park.
Fish
You actually find out that Jimbei and Arlong were on a crew with another really prominent fish man at one point. So, long story short, Luffy ends up running into Jimbei at the bottom of this prison trying to free his brother, which his brother and Jimbei had talked. So Jimbei had decided, if you're doing a prison break, break me out too. All this stuff goes on. They go through this entire war together, and it eventually boils down to them creating this friendship, and then Luffy eventually wanting Jimbei to join his crew. Now, things keep happening to stop Jimbei from joining the crew. So until Jimbei is legitimately on the crew and having a party with them, I don't accept it.
Yeah. So right now, through different events, he couldn't join right away. The invite was always there. He had stuff to take care of. And this current arc that's wrapping up in the anime is done in the manga. He said he's joining up. Every time a crew member joins, there's a big party. They have to drink together, they have to eat together and party and drink the sake together. So, not necessarily official, but the invite has been there for over 100 episodes.
Oh, which, by the way, the reason why Luffy can't be a hero is because a hero has to share their meat.
He's a pirate, not a hero. Yeah, he ain't sharing his meat with anybody.
Wait, what?
There was one time that, because like Luffy eats a lot, and his favorite thing is meat on a bone. It's simple as that. And at one point, they're like, "I can't." He just said, "No, I'm not a hero. I can never be a hero. Heroes share their meat at a party. I want all the meat."
Well, all right.
It's Luffy. It's simple and straightforward. as you get.
Okay.
That covers all the crew members and the attentive hint crew member.
So, question.
Go for it.
So we covered all the crew members. Who would you say that your favorite is? Jerry.
My favorite has always been, and probably always will be, Zoro out of the crew. Always enjoyed Zoro.
Because Luffy doesn't count. Because everyone loves Luffy. Yeah. And honestly, I'm with Jerry.
You just hurt Craig's feelings.
No, it's okay
Because Luffy's the correct answer for everyone, which is obvious. So you have to kind of go with the secondary. In my opinion.
Luffy is my favorite, but if we're discounting Luffy, it's Zoro.
Yeah.
And
Resounding.
I
I have 2 tattoos of One Piece characters, and they are
Luffy and Zoro. We should throw that up on our Instagram page sometime, just so people can appreciate your legs.
Yes, like 3 sword style, all 3 of us. Zoro is my favorite on the crew.
Yeah.
So if I had to choose one, I'd say mine is probably Brooke.
Brooke's awesome.
I don't know much about him other than what I've absorbed from you guys, but Slash is one of my favorite musicians. Guns N' Roses is my all-time favorite American rock and roll band. So
Did you say Guns N' Roses?
I said Guns N' Roses.
Okay.
In
That's still wrong.
dash. No, it is. No, it's Guns dash N dash Roses. Guns N' Roses.
I was at Guns and Roses.
Well, it's Guns and Roses, but in their all of their logos,
Okay.
it's Guns N' Roses.
So,
Off topic. Mike, go back to being quiet. Kid.
GNF&R, baby.
Yeah, Zoro, like, is for me, of course, he has a classic. He is the samurai of the group. And as y'all know by now, that's my jam. And yeah, he's a badass. And his story arc really touched me a lot. So like, he's one of my favorites.
All right. Well, so in over 900 episodes almost, there's been a lot of side characters that aren't the main crew. Who stood out as far as some of your non-crew characters? And can you nail one down as your favorite non-crew character?
Oh, I can. But we'll let the others go
So,
first.
one of the things that they introduced when they got towards the end of the Grand Line are these characters called supernovas. And it was essentially the crews that made it the same pattern. Well, not the same pattern, but they were going through the Grand Line the same time Luffy and crew were. And it was kind of cool to see that they've had their own adventures and path through. My first was a character named Trafalgar Law, which I cosplayed, and he was pretty interesting. Had a really cool character. He had interesting stuff.
Tragic backstory.
Of course, he had a tragic backstory. But he has been dethroned by a new character that they introduced. And his name is Bartolomeo Law. Oh, no. Bartolomeo. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm going to make it, guys. Don't worry.
You can do this.
Anyway, so it turns out that Bartolomeo was at the island before they went to the Grand Line. And ever since seeing Luffy stand up and get hit by lightning, right before announcing he's going to be the Pirate King, Bartolomeo, Bardo, as we like to call him, has idolized Luffy. So much so that he made a crew called the Bardo Club and designed his ship to look like the Going Merry. And he has all this like crazy fan art and stuff of Luffy and crew, and he just idolizes. He's basically the fanboys.
He's the fanboys
of the show.
cosplaying.
And he's got this devil fruit ability.
No fucking wonder why he's your favorite.
You're welcome.
He is us.
I actually cosplayed him. It was so much. It was a lot of fun. I felt really at home in that cosplay. But his devil fruit power is actually barriers. So he can put up barriers, put up invisible shields, and he even attacks with them too. Like he can crash them into people, put them around a fist and punch. And I love the design. He's got a green mohawk and a long purple coat and crazy clown looking pants. He's so crazy looking, but I love the character. Really cool.
So my favorite characters outside of the crew are Luffy's family.
Mhm.
Ace, Sabo. We don't know anything about Dragon yet, and Garp. Garp is probably my favorite, just because he had to put up with Ace and Luffy's bullshit. Because he's their he's Luffy's biological grandfather, and find out later he adopted Ace.
And another cool thing about that character is his position.
Yeah, so he was one of the admirals in the Marine.
Vice
Admiral in the Marine, and he actually was the one that caught Goldie Roger. And so his thing to him was Gold was scared that he was gonna, they were gonna find out that Ace was his son or grandson. And so he adopted him and took care of him, even though it was his biggest nemesis. So he raised him as if he was his own grandson. And then his son, Dragon, Luffy's dad, is actually in charge of a revolutionary army. So all of he's like way high up in the world government, and all of his family is just fucking up the world. And in fact, there's a comment in one of my favorite arcs where he looks at him and
it
goes,
was the fleet admiral.
Yeah, he looks at him and goes, Garp, your kids are fucking everything up.
Yeah, he's like literally, what the fuck is wrong with your family?
So he's Darth Vader?
Essentially.
Yeah. He's not evil, though. He's
No,
not that,
he's
like
a
we
good
said
guy.
before, that there are good Marines
but
and bad
Skywalker's fucking everything
It's the
up.
Skywalkers,
So,
So Garp, just
Damn
because
monkey
he's had to
family.
put up with the I mean, could you imagine raising Luffy and Ace? Could you imagine? So just for that he gets bonus points.
Oh, yeah.
All
Garp is
right.
amazing. Well, I'm gonna give a
Sean
few.
doesn't have a favorite character.
No, I don't get one. Couple of quick little runners up though, and ironically enough, two of which I've cosplayed. Beppo is the navigator for Jerry's one of his favorite characters. Law's crew. He is a polar bear that knows kung fu because there is an animal race.
well, that's what the fishmen. I mean, there's lots.
Well,
of different-
it's separate.
yeah. No, I know they're not the
Yeah.
same thing. I was
And
saying
there
that there
are-
are lots of there are people who aren't human.
I'm going blank. What are they called?
Minkman?
Minkman. Yes. So he is of that race, a race of intelligent, walking upright animals. And he's just awesome. He knows kung fu. He wears an orange jumpsuit, and I love him. Second place to my favorite character is a man called, he's an admiral in the Marines named Fujitora. Besides being just an awesome Marine with a power to bring that of gravity, he's a tribute to Zatoichi, the blind swordsman. He's modeled after the actor, and he fights. He's blonde with a cane sword. So gotta love all that. Also cosplay. But number one is one of the first villains that they ran into in early on in One Piece. His name is Buggy the Clown.
I hate this fucker.
And it was the second devil fruit we ever ran into.
Yeah. He has the chop fruit. He has the ability to break off his body into pieces that can float around and be controlled by him, except his feet. They have to stay on the ground. He is ridiculous. He is hilarious. He eventually ends up running crews that are stronger than he is, but they don't know because he's such a good grandstander. And he convinces them that he has to be in charge, even though they can all probably kick the shit out of him. And I like those kind of characters. The ones that he would be a deeper threat than anyone realizes if he wasn't so dumb. Because all he wants is treasure. And the irony of him, he was actually on Gold Roger's crew when he was young.
With Shanks.
He is known as the best swimmer on the crew, but he's greedy. He wants money. He wants gold, treasure. And once they got a hold of the chop fruit, and this is all done in a flashback, he painted up a different fruit, act like he was going to eat it, because the crew didn't care about it. They're like, oh, he's ridiculous. He's going to eat that fruit. He ate it. He ate the fake fruit because he was going to keep the real one and sell it because they're worth a lot of money in the world. But while he's over trying to make his escape, Shanks shows up, scares him. He was hiding in his mouth. Shanks scared him. He swallowed the devil fruit. So the best swimmer who likes to go after sunken treasure can't swim anymore.
He's also a clown.
He's a He has a red nose. What you talking about that red nose? He will throw a damn buggy
I
bomb at you.
hate clowns.
I also
love
really,
clowns.
like that. That's what started the him hating Luffy so much, is because Shanks.
Yeah.
It was the straw hat that Shanks had.
Shanks already got the hat from Roger when they were younger, and so he saw Luffy's hat and got pissed. And like I said, you run into him early in the show. He's a villain. They have a fight. It's an entertaining battle and everything. But he shows back up in a later arc, the Prison Break arc. And that's where he really came into being my favorite character.
Really shines.
If we ever get through, like, if I ever put out that video film and all my collection, you'll see that I have an entire section of a collection of nothing but Buggy merchandise, figures, and statues. He's my absolute favorite.
Nice. Very cool. I don't know enough to even pretend.
The dog.
Shoo shoo.
Yeah.
Shoo shoo.
I bet. No, for sure. This show, as Jerry and Sean and Craig have all talked about, can hit you with emotions. Even though it is an animated film, a lot of people don't think about animated films or animated shows as being serious. There are some extremely serious, touching moments in this show, and one of the episodes has a little lost dog who is extremely heroic, and I love dogs. If you follow me on my personal Facebook page, every other picture are my fur babies. They're my four-legged kids. I'll kill you over them. I like them better than most people. So this dog his owner has been assaulted and is basically trapped or is dead or something. Something's happened.
He's
Yeah,
dead.
He died.
and this dog is just defending him. Like it's just like
Defending his
guarding
his
his store,
store.
guarding his store. It's extremely heroic. At the end, it doesn't end well for Shoo Shoo. Shoo Shoo is a hero in his last moments.
It's funny, too. It's ironic that you hated my favorite pick because that's who he was defending against.
Yes,
Was Buggy. Buggy had destroyed the town and killed his owner. Because Buggy is an evil clown.
well, yeah. Also that. But no, man. Like, and it's one episode. It's literally one episode out of 900, whatever fuck they're doing.
And what did Shoo Shoo have? Tragic
Yeah,
backstory.
the dog did straight up have a tragic backstory. And it's that. Okay, that's mine. I'll claim that one because
There you go.
it'll straight up make you cry, dude. Like
The feels are strong in one thing.
so strong. Absolutely. So on this whole thing, 900 issues of the manga, 800 episodes of the anime, all of these things culminate into little different stories. Do you guys have a favorite? Do you have a favorite arc, and is there an arc you would just recommend as like just the best, like to you? So
Well, yeah. There's definitely the two turning points in the series, and I know we could all agree on them. It's Arlong Park and Impel Down. No, not Impel Down.
War?
No,
Impel
God.
Down's
You
the
just
one.
after
you just said you would
Skype.
all agree in that.
Oh, you think
Water 7.
Water 7. You think
Water
so?
7. Yes.
Yeah,
I wouldn't- I mean, Water's-
down.
Fight.
Yeah.
I'm a little.
Shit, we're at an hour.
No.
Never mind, don't fight.
No, Fishman Island and Water 7 are probably the ones that I've enjoyed the most and that have really impacted me, the artist.
For me, it's Arlong Park and Impel Down. And Impel Down, for me, it's because at that point I was watching the anime and I'd started years after you guys. And Ace has been captured. And Luffy's on this journey to get to his brother before something bad happens. And from that point on until the resolution, I could not stop watching.
Yeah.
I literally, it Impel Down, I watched like the next 250 episodes I think, in like a week. I mean, it was insane.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually echoing Craig. Absolutely. Impel Down was amazing. The war that it led to was just one of the highlights of One Piece. Me personally, and it's something I shared on our Facebook and Instagrams when I was rereading the manga recently, but Arlong Park still gives me goosebumps to that very specific moment
Yeah.
where Nami, as tough as she is, as strong, independent, strong as her tragic backstory built her up into being, finally just had to accept that she needed some help. And tear-filled eyes, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Right. Yeah.
Turns to Luffy and just says, help.
Mhm.
He puts a straw hat on her, and they know they're going to go fuck up some fishermen because what they did to
Luffy,
them.
Zoro, Sanji, Usopp. Just
Craig,
that walk.
yeah,
the
Craig
walk.
has a series of figures that replicate that scene. And if I ever wanted to steal something from Craig, it is that collection.
It wouldn't be his 4 million, worth of comic books.
Nah, fuck that. I want those figures.
Right.
But no, when Craig has it, I'm extremely jealous of that because that is arguably one of my most favorite scenes. That scene alone in that arc, that whole arc is great.
And
And that scene alone might be one of my favorite scenes in all of One Piece.
and that's only
But
that's
I already said
No,
that.
you're cool.
that's only like 50 or 60 episodes
It's
in.
early and
So you don't have to worry about getting 800 or so. Just watch up until that point.
I've seen up
you know.
until that point.
It has what Caleb said. Like, if we had to recommend a starting point, even if the early episodes don't do it for you, jump to that. Wiki what you missed. Get to Arlong Park. If you're not hooked, then you gave it a fair shot. And that's because, as Jerry mentioned earlier, that's where One Piece set its tone for the rest of the 9,000 episodes we're gonna get.
So I have no idea what it's called, but if I had to say I had a favorite, in the little bit I've seen, the arc where you get Sanji, where they find I'm not crazy. That's Cook, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the arc where you
Roddy.
get the arc
Roddy.
where you get Sanji and he's on the big boat and you get to meet the guy who trained him, and it's this dude with
Also
like
tragic
a
backstory.
bearded, like a braided beard, big Viking looking dude that Sanji just continually tries to impress as like a father figure and just never can live up to it. I think that one was really cool.
Absolutely.
And they hit you with that one more in the current story that they just wrapped
Yeah,
up.
that's what they did.
Yeah.
Absolutely did. Getting, like I said, you get the Sanji's first tragic backstory in that arc, and then now currently, even more so.
So before we get to the next section, I would like to, because I forgot to put it in here, talk about what some of our favorite moments were. Just those moments like Nami getting, Luffy putting the hat on.
Are we getting a montage here? Is that
Well, I mean, Jerry, maybe give a couple of yours.
Okay, so some that hit me pretty emotionally. Whenever we were shown Chopper's backstory and he was racing to Dr. Heerluke, hit me, and then whenever you finally get the cherry blossoms,
Yeah.
was really great, really touching. Another really good early one that I loved was in Alabasta when he finally beats Crocodile and he bursts him up through the. Oh man, that I just got goosebumps thinking about it. There was Skypia. Nobody talks about Skypia. The end of that fight when he rings that bell.
So long.
It's so long. I mean, not compared to arcs that they have
Yeah.
now, but when he finally rings that fucking bell,
Yeah.
man,
Absolutely.
there's just so many good. You can literally pick something out,
We could go all.
or like in Alabasta when Zoro finally realizes how to cut steel.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Sean, got a couple?
Of course, I just mentioned the Nami moment. Alabasta with the when Vivi can't say goodbye to her friends who she befriended, and they have their own way of saying goodbye. Just raising their arms with the X's on
Yeah.
is just amazing. Zoro swearing he's never going to lose again after he gets fucked up by another swordsman, and he promises Luffy as his first mate that he will never lose again. Again, emotions. The end of the war, which I'm not going to give away, even though it's a 10-year spoiler plus. The end of the war, of course. That going on and on and on. I'm sure I'm forgetting some. I'm thinking about it.
I got a couple.
Go for it.
In this world, there's something called Celestial,
Yep.
and they're the top of the food chain, and you're not even supposed to touch them. And there's a scene where they're bidding on slaves, and Luffy punches one of them so hard that the color goes out of the anime. There's that moment.
It's just such an intense moment because everybody's like knows how Luffy is, and he's making that walk up the stairs just silently because he just hurt his friend.
Yeah, and he's went from being Luffy to that seriousness.
They're bad up there in a slave auction house where they're trying to buy a mermaid.
Yeah.
And then an old villain, Hachi, the octopus fishman, who they battled in Arlong Park, shows back up and gets shot by the Celestial because they don't like what they're trying to do with buying fishmen. So this is a former enemy getting shot. the celestial dragon is just taunting. He looks ridiculous. He's dumb as shit, but he's just a spoiled rich person.
And like Craig said, top of the food chain. Like you can't even look at these motherfuckers, or else you're
it's
dead.
like looking at a god in society, and Luffy not even hesitating, just like this dead serious look, walks up some stairs, rears back, and just punches the color out of this man's world. It was just beautifully animated, and where just like a slow walk, and then just that impact is amazing.
Another one for me was Dressrosa when Doflamingo's fighting Law, and he's got him down on the ground and is about to kill him. And Luffy's been trying to get there this whole time. Finally shows up, and Doflamingo's foot's coming down.
Now, what's a Doflamingo? If you don't mind me asking, because this is a new word.
Don Quixote. He's actually
Don Quixote Doflamingo.
Yeah, he's actually a child of a celestial that was outcast into the world. So he
wears a big pink boa coat. It's
big feather coat. In the world, we didn't really talk about the other power in the world for the Marines. They have some pirates that they allow to kind of work with them. They're called the Seven Warlords. He's one of the warlords.
Sound like some snitches.
They are.
So he's about to kill Law. Jerry's one of Jerry's favorite guys, and his foot's coming down. Law's down for the count. And Luffy finally gets there right in the moment of time, and just that last second, Luffy's foot just goes underneath there and just stops his kick, just dead midair. It's just an amazing moment for me.
Two more.
Go for it.
Usopp Luffy, Water 7.
Oh my god!
That's why I wanted to bring it up. I don't know why I went for it. My favorite fight. My favorite fight in the entire series is when we talked about earlier that they had to destroy the Going Merry because it was beyond repair. Usopp, because it was given to him by the girl he loved from his island, didn't want to do it. He swore they could keep fixing, and it came down to Luffy and him fighting, and they took it serious.
And it was legitimately like you never took Usopp really serious up until this point, and then you're like, he pretty much says like, I've seen you fight all these fights. I know your weaknesses and all this and your strengths.
And it really shows Usopp's capabilities that he is. He's kind of like the Batman. Enough time to prep, he can give you a fight because he sets up their battlefield, and like he gives Luffy his best he can. And it's emotional because it's two friends. I mean, they've been together a long time at this point, but it was the dividing force, and Usopp knew he had to throw down with Luffy. Even if he knew he was going to fight, he was probably going to lose, but he didn't care.
Robin saying she wants to live.
Yeah.
And when they had to say goodbye to the Going Merry.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all. We could go on and on.
This is just the early shit that's going to tear you up.
Yeah.
Craig gave kind of a later one, but it's a series full of those moments.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So you can't have a show like this that has the emotional impact that you guys have talked about, and be as invested in it as I think that you guys are, and it not have an impact on you, like not have a real world, not just a fandom. Oh, I like this thing, I'm gonna put pictures of it on my wall, but like a real world impact. I mean, like we all have our favorite characters in comics. That these things have changed our lives in many ways. You know, what in that what has this done for you in your like your actual day-to-day real life? What does it mean to you? Like go dig deep. Like what the emotional impact this thing has.
It has a lot of heart, a lot of feeling, a lot about friendship, and just how ultimate power can corrupt a lot of ways. It's just deep on so many levels. I mean, the friendship and doing anything for your friends is like one of the biggest parts about it, I think. And also being, like family. Like family doesn't necessarily have to be blood. They go through that a lot in the show too. That like, anybody can really be family.
And that's actually almost word for word what I had. It's about this familial bond that he has with his crew and his brothers that aren't even his brothers by blood. It's such dedication that if you're a crew member or a friend of his, he'll die for you. It's this. And if Sandman's my favorite comic book ever, this is by far my second favorite. I mean, it's that good. I mean, you don't invest 908 chapters of reading and watching to not enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I mean exactly. I mean the lessons that it teaches, that it's about, like I said, the friendships, has serious impact on me in my life. Actually, I can definitely say 3 friends have been made because of One Piece. Absolutely 3, maybe even 4. Say I had 2 friends. Shout out to Matt and Anthony. Anthony especially, he's Jumbo Thick, the one we referenced before here, and helped us get our first episode up on the YouTube channel. But I made friends with them because I walked into their GameStop, and somehow we started talking about One Piece. I walked into Kapow one day when I was making my beat art, and Jerry asked me to make him some One Piece beat art, and we started talking about One Piece. And I regretted this. But it's made a 5-year friendship. And I said 4 because I'm pretty sure me and Craig were already getting along, but I think when he jumped into One Piece, it solidified that I love this motherfucker for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And that's what One Piece teaches, and that's what it has directly impacted into my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of a chosen family aspect. That resonates. I'm not even.
And I think that's why it resonates all over the world. And not just Japan, it's a global force.
Yeah.
I mean, even going to Garp with his kids, I mean, he raised his enemy's kid.
Kind of raised. Raised is like a big term.
Yeah.
He left him on an island with pirates.
He took him in and protected him. Gave him a protection, even though they were on their own. But yeah, I mean, he gave him the fist of love.
But there was one that I definitely
Wait, what?
Don't make it dirty.
No. That's what you can't just call something the fist of love and not expect this. This is bullshit.
It is not dirty.
It's what he calls it when he has to punch some sense into them.
Which is what you often have to do with Luffy and Ace.
I do want to throw out when we talk about the impact it has. I recently saw a clip. I think it's the World Cup. There's something big going on in soccer.
It's the World Cup.
There's been a footage being shared around of 3 Japanese fans are leaving the game and they're happy. I guess they did well. They're singing the first opening theme song of One Piece, and a man from another country. I don't remember what country, from obviously a rival team, walked up and joined them in song.
I saw this.
And
it's
beautiful.
touching.
Yeah,
it's
it was
touching.
absolutely amazing. That's the impact of One Piece.
Well, all right. I've got a bonus question that you guys aren't prepared for. I'm just going to put you on the spot.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I've been waiting for like 3 weeks to ask it. Wow. So, if you go back in our list of shows, you're going to find one where we went to Arkansas Anime Con. And you guys walked me around. You taught me a little bit about anime and manga. We had a really good recap. We did a little special on it. I learned something there. A term.
How to say anime, right?
Anime?
Well, that, yeah.
Manga?
There is a term that I learned there that is a thing in anime. It's called shipping. And if we're gonna talk about an anime and a manga where a ship is a major part of it, I'm gonna put you guys on the spot. So why don't, number one, you tell everybody at home what shipping is, and then tell me what characters you would ship from One Piece.
Well, do we want to do the more popular version of shipping where it's usually 2 male characters? Or are we talking a normal... not normal, sorry, that was a terrible way to phrase that.
Our friendship is over, but it's okay.
I know, no. Or, I guess you call it the traditional... I just didn't know how to phrase it. But yeah, like either... Because shipping in general is always just putting 2 characters together in a relationship, even if they're not in the series.
Do that one. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Like sometimes what you're talking about is sometimes shipping means they take 2 same-sex characters and make them have a gay relationship. Let's just go with the general. What 2 characters would you want to see go bang?
No, you know what? We're open-minded people here. One of each. No, one of each. Do 1 straight and 1 homosexual.
Buggy Shanks.
Okay.
Or I guess I could do Law Luffy.
Hey, whatever floats your boat, bro. But what do you see? They'd be like, you know what? I can see them bang. Come on, Jerry. You're an open man.
I mean, I've always kind of liked the Law Robin.
Oh, that's interesting. Barry.
Yeah.
And you going Buggy Shanks for the Caleb way?
Absolutely.
The Caleb way.
I love my You're the immediate example that I have. I love you 100.
I'm going for the same sex. I'm going Garp and Mauji.
Whoa! You're not gonna do Garp Sengoku?
Wow! We'll show you who those
Yeah,
are.
I don't know why this is funny, but I like it.
Then
The two characters who walk Craig the costume.
That's weird.
There's the G.
That's very meta, Craig.
Hey, respect, bro. Respect. Live your life, boo boo.
I'll go the obvious one for me. Luffy and Boa.
Oh yes, Boa Hancock, the one of the 7 warlords of the sea who fell in love with Luffy. She loves the hell out of him, and he has no interest right now. Only about to get in the One Piece. She loves the hell out of him.
All right.
Let's see. For me, no, I've always been it's been weird. I've always been a fan of Zoro Robin.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people put them together.
That's cute.
I think so. I think that could definitely work. Think of the other ones that I've seen posted, because obviously I'm not.
Sure, yeah.
Which one? I'm not saying I've written it. I may have. That's Lauji.
I don't want to know anymore. No, you want to call him granddaddy.
I took the 2 old men.
You know what? We're gonna go extra fun on this one because I've seen it. Let's do Law and Beppo. Law and his polar bear. Come on, Jerry. We've cosplayed it
I'm
together.
not touching your
Touch
hand.
my hand.
I can't.
Touch my hand,
Jerry. I can't.
Law loves his teddy bear.
All right.
Is a real same sex? I would go Sanji and Zoro.
Oh, they do love to hate each other. You know, they just want to fuck it out.
I just want this episode to end now. So I don't know what half of this means, but this has been fun. I'm glad you guys shared all this stuff with us. So at the end of every manga ramen, if you serve up a dish of manga ramen, what do you say when you're done?
Our bowls are finished. Ikidakimasu.
All right. Well, have we kind of wrapped up things with everything that you guys want to cover with One
As
Piece?
best we can in the time allotted.
And now we're going to go into our My Hero Academia special.
All right,
Jumping
so
from One Piece into My Hero.
Thank y'all for joining us. In My
Well, no, we should definitely do a My Hero special at some point, but unfortunately we don't have time today. I really hope that everyone listening has enjoyed this. If you have, you can feel free to contact us on our many different social media sites. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can email us, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. Yeah, we're here, and if there are shows that you want to talk about, let us know. If there's questions you have about comics, reach out to us. We're definitely open to talk. We're going to end this show, since it's all about anime and mangas. As I mentioned earlier, you guys took me to Arkansas Anime Con earlier this year. We actually got to do a panel and talk about podcasting and talk about comics and talk a little bit about anime and manga. And we spoke to some, we hope you're fans now, but there are a lot of people who hadn't necessarily listened to the show, but were interested in talking to us. And we actually took the time to ask them what some of their favorite stuff were, and anime and manga, and what they would recommend. So let's take a minute. We're going to listen to we're not even listen to 2 different anime and manga recommendations from some folks right here around Central Arkansas.
Southern Fried Geekery.
So tell me your name and tell me a manga or an anime that I should read or watch.
David Scott, I'd like to recommend Naruto, and starting out with Naruto, and then going to Naruto Shippuden.
Naruto Shippuden what now?
Shippuden.
I did Shippuden this morning.
Did you?
Yes.
I did too.
It was nice.
Yeah.
Everything come out all right?
Absolutely.
Great. Well, thanks.
Southern Fried Geekery.
All right, that was awesome. Guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing this thing with me. As you all just heard, it's not my... I haven't consumed it all. I'm not going to say it's not my thing, because it might be. I just don't know yet. This was rad. Let's do it again sometime. Until next time, go forth and love some comics.
And manga.
And anime. And shipping.